Birds of Prey is now out in theaters, and it looks like DC and Warner Brothers have another win in their book. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another review video. My name is Joker, and today we're going to be going over my review of Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I do think the title is still extremely long, however it does play into what the movie is about, and I will get to that in the spoiler section of the video, so don't worry, this video is going to split into two sections, a non-spoiler and a spoiler review section. I will let you know on screen when I go into spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm not going to ruin anything for you, I promise. So we'll go ahead and start with our non-spoiler review, just thinking about the fact that we were all kind of curious and wondering as to where DC was going to go after the 2016 crash and burn movie that was Suicide Squad. It came out with a huge bang and did make a lot of money at the box office, but once it was all said and done, the movie was an absolute catastrophe. And Cathy Yan seems to have turned it around with Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn gives us a colorful glitter bomb explosion of a time while trying to tie up all of the loose ends from Suicide Squad. Margot Robbie's return as Harley Quinn is mesmerizing as she spreads her wings and takes her character to new heights, which is fantastic considering she was one of the biggest highlights from Suicide Squad. Birds of Prey also gives us a colorful ensemble of DC characters that only add to the film's success. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Journey Smollett-Bell, and Rosie Perez all give tremendous performances as their respected characters of Huntress, Black Canary, and Renee Montoya. The plot does seem to focus heavily on Ella J. Basco's character Cassandra Cain, but it's a pleasant change of pace and only adds to the film's perspective. However, I do think the biggest takeaway from this film is the riveting performance from Ewan McGregor as Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask. McGregor does an outstanding job of playing a character that is certifiably insane. The character's constant mood swings throw the viewer off so much that you can never expect what he'll do next, which only makes matters worse when you discover that Black Mask's #1 guy is Victor Zsasz, played by Chris Messina. The on-screen dynamic between Black Mask and Zsasz is astonishing, so much so that some scenes leave you feeling disgusted with what was just performed. And on top of that, all of these performances are tied up nicely with a soundtrack that is destined to blow you out of the water. So straight from the beginning, we really didn't know what to expect from this movie. From all of the trailers that we've seen, we saw that it was supposed to be a Birds of Prey film that was going to involve Harley Quinn in either a large way or a minuscule way, but really, where was the plot going to go? What was the story going to be about? And was it going to be any good? And shockingly, to my surprise, this movie was a masterful success. Everything from the moment it started to the moment it ended, I was zoned and locked into the action and the story and the characters with no complaints whatsoever. Sure, there may have been some parts in the film that I would have done differently, but what movie doesn't have that? Everything in Birds of Prey from beginning to end is nothing but one colorful, action-packed, badass film. And to set aside from what Cathy Yan said during an interview that stated that this movie may potentially take place in an alternate timeline of DC, that is not true, and she got away with saying that because this movie is told from the perspective of Harley Quinn. And so she's telling it from what she thinks is the right way of telling a story. There's a lot of going back and forth throughout, and that is why she was able to get away with saying it takes place in an alternate universe, because even though Harley is telling us the story, we're only seeing her side of the story. We don't know what else was going on. So because of that, she was able to get away with saying that, but it definitely takes place within the DCU leading out of Suicide Squad. And right from the beginning of the film, it takes no time away to talk about the fact that Suicide Squad did happen. It is still a canon movie in this universe, and it takes us straight from the point of what happened after Joker broke Harley out of prison at the end of Suicide Squad, going through their somewhat of a breakup and showing what is happening now, and the reason that Jared Leto's Joker is no longer in the DCEU. And of course, it is because in reality that Jared Leto had a very poor performance as the Joker in Suicide Squad. Still, in the film's canon, they do have to go through a story as to how they're not going to use him, and what better way to do that than breaking up Harley Quinn and Joker. I unfortunately can't go any farther without going into spoiler territory, so we're going to be switching from non-spoiler to spoiler review right now. If you don't want this to be spoiled for you and you plan on seeing the movie, feel free to stop the video, go see the movie in theaters, come back and finish it, or you can skip ahead to this point right here, where you can see my final thoughts on the movie. So now that we are once again in spoiler territory, let's go into a little bit more about what this movie is, basically starting with that title, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Don't get that confused, because this is definitely a Harley Quinn movie, setting up the Birds of Prey for possible future entries in the DCEU. I do feel that this was a really awkward way to establish the Birds of Prey while telling a Harley Quinn story, but I guess any other title just probably didn't work, but it set up the Birds of Prey to work in other future films, so I'm not really mad about it. So this movie is basically talking about the breakup between Joker and Harley Quinn and how Harley is trying to adapt to her new life without having Joker in it. Throughout this movie, we're introduced to a bunch of new characters that are going to be playing along within the story of either wanting to try to partner with her or trying to kill her now that Joker isn't on her side. And this is all told beautifully and hysterically through the words of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, who is narrating the whole story similar to the way they do in Deadpool. And just like in Deadpool, there is a lot of going back and forth with, wait, this is not the right part of the movie. I need to back this up 15 minutes to explain why I'm standing here right now. So we do go through part of the movie, then go back for about a 15-minute interval of past stuff leading up to where we just paused, and then continuing on from there. Much like with Deadpool, going back to how he ended up becoming Deadpool, and then coming back to the freeway fight against Ajax. And this film setting up Ewan McGregor as the antagonist of Black Mask against, I guess, what would be the antagonist to the antagonist, weird way of putting it, is ridiculous. His performance is just disgusting. It's so good that you hate it. He is perfect at playing this role of going from in a great mood 1 second to absolutely horrifying. He's making people get up on tables and tear their clothes off and dance while threatening to carve their faces off. This is the thing about Black Mask. He's obsessed with masks. He's got masks all around his office. He wears a black skull mask and he cuts people's faces off in this movie. It definitely is an R-rated film and it earns that R rating. But the whole idea around this is that everyone wants Harley Quinn dead for one reason or another. But now that she's not with the Joker and she's publicly made it clear that she is no longer with the Joker, everyone that's had something against her in the past is now coming after her because she has no protection. This plot ends up driving against another plot line which comes intertwined, which is Cassandra Cain, who is a young pickpocket who ends up picking the pocket of Zaz, who stole a diamond that is meant to go to Black Mask. Within this diamond is laser-etched engravings of bank account numbers to the Bertinelli crime family that Black Mask wants for himself so he can buy his own army to take out Harley Quinn and anyone else that stands in his way. But of course, once Cassandra Cain ends up pickpocketing it and then ends up with Harley Quinn, everyone starts going after both of them for the same reasons. They want the diamond and they want Harley dead. And while this isn't necessarily an original plotline, we've seen this in countless movies before of someone taking something that doesn't belong to them and someone wants it back. Most cases it is a diamond. There really isn't a whole other plotline you could have used for this movie that I think would have worked as well. Just seeing the chemistry on screen between Harley Quinn and Cassandra Cain is a completely different aspect that we haven't really seen before, especially when putting Harley up against a younger character. And throughout the plot of the movie between both Cassandra Cain and Harley Quinn, they end up all getting intertwined with Black Canary, Huntress, and Renee Montoya. Coming down to the final point at the end of the film where the actual team-up does happen, and that is when we really see the Birds of Prey. If anything, the concept of the Birds of Prey really doesn't come about until about the last 10 minutes of the film, which is interesting and why I think that the title should have been changed to something else before this movie actually went into production. Because while it is titled as Birds of Prey, it is pretty much just shafting the Birds of Prey and focusing mainly on Harley. But it does establish that the Birds of Prey do become a thing and is probably going to become a thing in future films, especially since there was constant talks about a Birds of Prey film and Gotham City Sirens at the same time. But aside from the plot, one of the best parts about this movie are the action sequences. This movie constantly has us jumping from one fight to another, and they're all completely original and unlike anything we've seen in the most recent DC films and some of the over heavily CGI'd stuff from both DC and Marvel. It's completely hand-to-hand combat for the most part, and it's just something we haven't seen before. And it turns out it's all because for the stunt coordinator, they brought in John Wick's director. So with Chad Stahelski at the helm of all of the combat between car fights and fist fights, jail fights, whatever it was that happened in the movie, completely different and really a weird way of showing some of the fights that could happen that would mainly be pretty comic book based. A lot of the main fight scenes toward the end of the film take place in an abandoned circus, as you might have guessed, where there's all kinds of weapons and giant handsprings and trampolines and all kinds of ways that these characters can fight each other, which makes it completely original to the idea of Harley Quinn, as well as original to the fights that we've seen in comic book movies in the past. And even the small nods and ties to Suicide Squad make me happy that they're at least acknowledging that it still happened and it is still canon, even though it was a bad film. They're not trying to sweep it under the rug, and we see that a lot with some flashes of what happened to Harley when she became Harley Quinn, some shots of someone playing the Joker only from the back so you never see his face, you can't tell it's Jared Leto, and even when Harley Quinn is walking out of a jail and she sees a wanted poster on the side for Jai Courtney's character of Captain Boomerang, and she so cleverly says, hey, I know that guy, which I think is fantastic, especially when Jai Courtney is set to return as Captain Boomerang for James Gunn's version of Suicide Squad 2. So after the success that was a standalone film for Joker, and now another DCEU entry as Birds of Prey, it is an absolute knock out of the park. This is going to be another movie that I will honestly be surprised if it doesn't hit $1 billion at the box office, because it's just been going in an uphill direction for DC. Everything has been fantastic since Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, and now Birds of Prey. Everything is going fantastic for DC in creating this small universe that they have. And it all works together to show us what could be happening between Harley Quinn and Cassandra Cain in future films, as well as setting up a fantastic cast for the Birds of Prey movie. Now, a Birds of Prey solo film has not been announced yet, so I have no knowledge if that's going to be a thing, but I think it would be kind of weird to name your movie Birds of Prey only to give the true Birds of Prey about 5 minutes of screen time and not give them their own respected movie down the line. But overall, this movie was absolutely ingenious. It is definitely going to be another win for DC, and everything about it is great. I'm going to be giving this movie a 9.5 out of 10, simply because the story, while basic, was amazing, the action was great, the characters were amazing, casting was awesome, the soundtrack to this movie is so kick-ass, it keeps you just in line this whole time. Everything that's happening on screen matching with the music just makes it all the more better, and it is definitely a great win for DC. All in all, setting up the universe to become bigger and more expansive as more of these DC films come out within the next few years. Everything that came out of the trailers for this movie did confuse me because I was not sure as to what direction this movie was trying to go, and after seeing it, I have zero regrets. I definitely want to see it again and will be buying this on Blu-ray to add to my collection. Well worth watching, fantastic film, well done DC. So if you haven't seen Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and you're kind of on the fence on whether or not you want to see it, I definitely recommend that you should see this. If you have seen Birds of Prey, let me know in the comments down below. Did you like the film? Was it better than you were expecting, or was it something you weren't that into, or you thought it was going to be worse than it actually was? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to talk about it. But until more movies come out for me to give you guys reviews on, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie review videos, or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.